What's up? It's Tom. I want to talk about some trades, assuming that the Twins buy, which I hope they do. But depending on how this Kansas City series goes, I could envision myself in a couple days recording a similar video about the Twins potentially selling. So I do think they're right on the edge. So keep that in mind. I also want to be super clear in the outfront. I'm not going to put out specific trade ideas, but I think from this discussion, you can almost kind of say like a choose your own adventure, and you could put together your own trade packages potentially. So a couple things that I narrowed out of this was taking out any kind of AL Central teams. I don't think there's going to be, like, if the Twins are buying, I don't think any of the AL Central teams are going to sell to the Twins. Maybe the Royals, since they're so far out of it. But other than that, I don't see that. Not saying it's not going to happen, but you would also think any other AL teams in the hunt aren't going to be trying to help other AL teams in a similar situation. So I kind of narrowed things down. I also did focus more on guys who are pending free agents, because they're going to cost less. I can hear an argument that the Twins should target some guys who'll be around long term, because they would help them long term, but those guys are going to be a lot more expensive to acquire. So, and again, even if the Twins do buy, it's not like I want them to buy big. So I think these names I grabbed make the more sense. But the interesting thing I think about how I'm approaching this, as I look around other places, is I start with who are the trade chips that I'm willing to part with. And if I'm the Twins and I'm buying, I'm keeping the guys in-house. I'm keeping Ryan Jeffers. I'm keeping Trevor Larnach. I'm keeping Joe Ryan, on down the line. I am not sacrificing anything currently on this team if I'm trying to compete. It just doesn't really make sense to me. So these are the prospect trade chips that I would hone in on. All bats. I would try really hard to keep all the pitching, and if that limits what I can do on the trade market, then so be it. Again, the Twins should not really go super far outside of a comfort zone to try to win this year. They should not kind of mortgage anything from their future to try to win this year. And these are guys who I think all would be attractive on the free agent market, but if we're being really honest about it, don't have that clear of a path on the Twins for several seasons to come. Gabriel Gonzalez, my pick for last year's Twins minor league hitter of the year. Although, even though I've always respected that production he had last year, I have always been kind of a glass half empty guy in terms of his profile in general. But there's no doubt other teams that don't have as much hitting as the Twins do could look at him as an attractive trade chip. A lot of the same things you could say about Hendry Mendez, who's playing really well in his first taste of AAA. Both of those guys young, both of those guys in AAA. So, they both have upside and are also very big league adjacent. Depending on the acquiring team, those guys could just go straight to the big leagues if they wanted them to. Kind of moving down to AA and guys who have recently joined AA. So that's not too far away. So it's kind of a best of both worlds with Kadeem Jiao and Brandon Winokur. You're getting guys who are in the upper minors who are not that far off. It's not like you're acquiring guys that, you're looking 3-4 years down the line. But they also have upside that is, I feel like maybe uncommon for guys in AA. I feel like you know a lot about guys by then, and these two have more upside than they're kind of more of a lower level upside with those guys in a way. Jiao's been pretty raw. I think one of the reasons why I'd be comfortable with potentially moving him is I'm not confident that he catches anyway, but obviously the Twins have added a bunch of catching to their system. So even if he does make it as a catcher, the Twins are looking pretty good there, although it's, you always need 2 catchers and really 3. And, it would be pretty remarkable if the Twins, even though they do have all this catching depth, it would be pretty crazy if they all make it to the big leagues as catchers. I think that would be unlikely, but so I'm not saying, I would really prioritize that. It's more that I think Jiao is a interesting name in this mix that doesn't really have a path. That's the same with Brandon Winokur. I love Brandon Winokur, so this would hurt me, but really, if I'm honest about it and I really look at the system and look at the big league club now, it's really hard to find path for these guys. Now, Winokur is a right-handed hitting hitter, which that would, there's not only the outfield and the infield he could fit in there. potentially in the long run with so many left-handed bats. Even a lot of the prospects hit left-handed. So, he's a guy with positional flexibility. I think certain teams in particular might be super high on Brandon Winokur. So I think he could be a nice trade chip, and I don't think it would hurt that as much as it hurts me to say, because I really enjoy him. I don't think it would hurt the system that much to trade away a Brandon Winokur. And really, from that point down, really any of the bats, kind of the same conversation. It does get a little tricky with guys who are in the lower levels or rookie ball. Jamnardo Reyes is a guy who the teams are going to ask about, and maybe it makes sense to trade him. Maybe if you trade him, it looks like a genius move. 3 years from now, it could look like an idiot move. 3 years from now, though, that is a really risky one. Kind of the same thing you'd say about Luis Fregosa. Anthony Bass is another name with Fort Myers I really like. There's a few other guys in that team, but like Yasser Mercedes, Billy Amick would be in that kind of next tier. I think again, it's hard to find kind of paths for those guys at the moment. Now, switching gears to targets. And again, my trade chips, hitters only. I'm trying to keep as much pitching as I can. I don't think this is a very deep system in terms of pitching. I would also target only pitching on the trade market. I can hear an argument that the Twins could use another right-handed bat because they've been bad against left-handed pitching, but I'm using my chips to get pitching. Anything you use to acquire a right-handed bat is an asset you could use to acquire pitching, and that's what I would push my chips into. So, Kevin Gausman, that might be aiming too high. I'm not sure if we could acquire a Kevin Gausman with the kind of guys that I'm willing to part with. He has postseason experience, 14 games, including 2 World Series starts. That's going to be attractive on the market. His surface stats make it look like he's taken a step back, but his FIP has only dropped from 3.41 to 3.58. And his baseball savant sliders, which don't always tell the whole picture, but it's kind of an interesting snapshot, they look extremely similar from 2025 to 2026. He has struggled lately, though. So it's not like you can just completely brush off any of those surface stat numbers. He has a 6.32 ERA in his last 10 starts since the start of June, and he is 35. So I think there's going to be teams that look for him as just a reliable veteran. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball and most durable the past 7 years. But I think there might be some teams that say, man, this guy's not pitching well. He's getting up there. So, if his market maybe isn't as hot as I might imagine, he's also a pending free agent. So, that would be a huge addition. Sandy Alcantara would also be a pretty big one. I don't think that he's ever going to get back to that Cy Young version of himself, but he's still plenty good. He's an innings eater. He leads the league in ERA. He doesn't strike out many guys, but that kind of helps him be pitch efficient, actually, and cover a lot of innings. He has a 3.29 ERA and a 3.77 FIP in his last 10 starts. He is basically a free agent. I mean, if you think about it, he does have a team option for $21 million. It kind of depends on the team who would pick that up. I think that's certainly on the table, especially with how reliable of an innings guy he is. There's a $2 million buyout on that too. So, I mean, if we pretend the Twins trade for him, I would want him to pick that up. So, but it's kind of a choose your own adventure. You could trade for him and then just decline that option and pay the $2 million if you don't want to commit to him long term. Shane Bieber is kind of my buy low candidate, and maybe the most realistic name in this conversation where the Twins aren't really pushing hard to go for it. I think he's a good buy low option. He's only pitched a grand total of 83 innings in the past 3 seasons, but we all know how good he was with Cleveland before that time. He struggled upon returning in late June. As I'm recording this, he's going to pitch tonight. So maybe this will look bad in short order, but he's coming off back-to-back really good starts against the White Sox and the Rays, a couple teams leading their divisions. So, is he hitting his stride? Is he fresh since he missed so much time? And again, didn't get back to the majors until late June. Does that mean, he's going to be fresh while as some of these other guys are going to be wearing down, like maybe Kevin Gausman? And Bieber is a pending free agent too. So, I don't think it's going to take a ton to acquire him. Why are we talking about rotation pieces? I think the Twins could really use a starter regardless, but getting a reliable starter into the rotation will also allow you to push someone in the current rotation picture into the bullpen. So it would be almost like kind of getting a bullpen addition in a way, by acquiring a starter, which you need anyway. So that's where I would start. No doubt about it, the Twins need relief help. The bullpen has been pitching better of late. Give them credit for that, but it's easy. Anybody can look at this team, this roster, and evaluate that they need relief help. It would be great if they could get somebody with closing experience. The guy that really stands out, another Toronto Blue Jay, Jeff Hoffman, lost his closer role to our guy Louis Varland, but he has been really good of late. And kind of funny, he was a former Twin Spring training invitee who opted out because he wasn't going to make the opening day roster, ended up going to Philadelphia, and his career's totally turned around. It looks like a terrible decision. I don't know if he would still be around. This is, I think, like 4 seasons ago now, so maybe he wouldn't be around anyway, but I would love to see him come back. Again, lost his closer role, and for good reason, but getting momentum once again. His last 20 outings since the start of June, a 1.40 ERA and a 31 K percentage for Jeff Hoffman. So he is under team control for 2027. It's a $12.7 million contract for next season. So that might be a little steep on the Twin side, but on the other hand, it might kind of suppress his trade value in a way. So, this would be a go big or go home, open up the pocketbooks, Tom Pohlad type move. Camilo Doval of the Yankees. You may have seen his name involved in a bunch of Twins trades. I put, the Yankees probably not going to be sellers, so it would have to be some kind of a challenge trade. I do want to be clear putting his name on here. I am not interested at all in him being a focal part of a Ryan Jeffers trade. And again, in this scenario, I'm not trading Ryan Jeffers. So I don't know how you would make this work with the Yankees. But I saw that, Anthony Volpe and Camilo Doval for Ryan Jeffers. I don't like that idea. So to make sure to take that context into throwing him out. But I do really like this guy as a target because he's an excellent ground ball pitcher. And like you see there, he's kept the ball in the stadium everywhere but Yankee Stadium. Not too crazy to think of that because that place is a bandbox. He has a career 1.8 homers per 9 at Yankee Stadium, and it is 0.6 homers per 9 everywhere else. So has been dramatically homer prone at Yankee Stadium and incredibly limiting elsewhere. Now, of course, he's pitched, I think, probably most of his games in San Francisco, which is a massive park, so keep that in mind as well. He's arbitration eligible for next season, and he won't be cheap. He's making $6.1 million this year, so he's going to make even more than that next season. So maybe that would be a hurdle. And again, the Yankees, it's not like they're going to sell. So, in this conversation I'm having, it'd be really tricky to make that one work. But he is a guy that stands out to me, a reliever who is probably going to be traded with closing experience potentially on the market. But maybe the next two are more realistic guys. Relievers without closing experience. Now, Adrian Morejon, he's probably the best left-handed relief pitcher that's going to get traded potentially. So this is maybe aiming too high, but he would be a great addition. He is a pending free agent, so maybe some of those guys move and they don't go for as much as you would imagine. And maybe that's what's happening here. This is only a reliever that you're going to have for 2 months. So, maybe he's not going to go for as much as I would imagine, but outstanding track record in terms of both performance and durability the last 3 seasons. That's not a huge track record of 3 seasons, but I feel like for a reliever, how many relievers out there have 3 really good, healthy seasons in a row? Mostly healthy, at least. And he has been really good. Only 6 career saves, though. So as good as he's been, he does not have closing experience. He would be the Twins' closer, most definitely. If they acquired him, I think that would be clear cut. And then maybe a more realistic guy, and Antonio Senzatella from the Rockies. So maybe Shane Bieber and this guy would be kind of the more realistic options for this kind of light buy scenario. He's having a breakout season, and there is stuff that suggests that this is a different pitcher this year. He's added 2.3 miles per hour to his fastball. He is sitting 97.3 now, and he's also changed his pitch mix to feature a cutter and a sinker as his support pitches to his four-seamer. Used to be kind of your traditional slider, changeup, curveball after his four-seamer, and he's had those pitches, and I think he's kind of tinkered with them at times, but he's really pushed them front and center to go with his four-seamer this year. So, it's always, looking at a breakout reliever, how much can you buy? But there's really concrete things with him that you can point to and say, this is real. He has a $14 million team option for 2026. It's a lot for a reliever in the Twins realm of things. A 10-year Colorado Rocky. So we've never seen this guy pitch primarily outside of Coors Field. He has been better on the road for his career. He's been better at home. Excuse me, he's worse on the road, worse away from Coors Field for his career. But I think those have flipped this season, and that's just a hard thing to analyze because there's a Coors hangover effect for visiting teams. There's a lot of guys that it's just like a weird thing to go from Coors to another environment, and for pitchers, your stuff does different stuff up in the altitude there than it does on the road. So there might be a bit of an adjustment period for him not pitching there at all, consistently maybe getting weirder results with his pitches. But he's maybe the realistic target for a guy who does not have closing experience, but I do think he would be the Twins closer if they acquired him. So what do you think about all that? What are some names you like? Who are some guys you'd be willing to part with as well? And again, I mean, the Twins are on the brink, so it would not shock me if a couple days from now I'm here delivering a conversation about, hey, here are some prospects I would like the Twins to acquire potentially. And that would also focus all around pitching. So anyway, thanks for checking this one out. Check out Limestone Pipeline. I just shared a bunch of highlights of Jamnardo Reyes from his first weekend with the Mighty Muscles. We will talk again soon.